Good morning, all, and welcome. My name is Sandy McDonald, and I'm the Director of the Office of Economic and Small Business Development on behalf of Broward County, and welcome you to our business forum, our RISE business forum. And staff is going to give you a little bit more about the specifics of RISE, this rebuild, this improvement, this sustaining. The idea is to make sure that we can continue to offer support services to the businesses right here in Broward County. And if you didn't know about our office, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our office. Next slide for me. On behalf of the county, we're the Office of Economic and Small Business Development, twofold, economic and small business. Small business focus, a government agency. We look to educate and inspire entrepreneurs as well as small businesses, minority and women-owned businesses. We promote job growth on behalf of the county. We work with other public-private partners and other community organizations to do exactly that. And for the county itself, we're a service agency. That's key for some of you, not most of you. That's key because we work to assure that at least 25% of what the county buys, we buy from small businesses right here in Broward. So that might not be directly dealing with the industries we're talking to this morning, but you need to know that as a service agencies, one of the uniqueness as a program in the county is that we work to assure that this county, which procures over 1 billion with a B, goods, materials, and services a year, that at least 25% of that is purchased from small businesses right here in Broward. So that's another day, that's another story, that's another one of our workshops. But again, we wanted to make sure that you understood that we're here as small business, as economic development, as entrepreneurs, as growth and workforce development for all the businesses, residents, and entrepreneurs right here in your county of 31 cities, 1.9 million residents, and you as a business, over 74,000 businesses, our county alone. Next slide. We're also here, and who's running the Zoom today, or who's responsible for us meeting and hooking up with the Broward Small Business Resiliency Group, Ms. Bonner and Coach Mo and Mr. Miguel and some of the others. We're here because our community relations outreach, their day job is to link us to as many business organizations as possible. We do this with all 17 chambers in the county. We do this with all 31 cities in the county. And again, EDOs, economic development organizations and business organizations, we have to find a way, as you heard me earlier, to say that what we do as a county gets to the 74,000 businesses, the 1.9 million residents, and those who might want to be entrepreneurs or start businesses one day. So we recognize as a government, a staff of less than 32, there's no way that we can get that out to 74,000 businesses. Between our newsletters, our email blasts, our social media, we still couldn't. So we always need business partners to share our information. Our community relations outreach division is that connection between all the business partners, the ones we know, the ones we didn't know. And once we find those, we try to make sure that they are aware of the things that we do on a regular basis since COVID. As an example, we've done over 50 virtual workshops. And if you missed them, you can actually go to our website and you'll see the link to YouTube, and you can still go back and recapture it. We work with partners like the SBDC. We work with the SBA. You're going to hear from Ms. Harris later on. We make sure that as a county, for all the things we may not be able to do, and I need to be crystal clear, I'm government at the end of the day. For all the things we may not be able to do, our job is to make sure we can also identify the resources and the organizations that may be able to assist the businesses in our community. But for the things that we can do, we want to make sure that we share that openly. We want to make sure that as soon as possible, individuals have that information and they're able to navigate the process that can aid them and support them. Next slide. The 3 Ps I'm not going to harp on today, but we encourage you to stay in touch with our office. Understand the county's program, understand the process, and understand which people you need to meet as a business, as an entrepreneur, as a startup, as someone who might be revisiting what they did 5 years ago. And in this case, where you are right now as a business in this industry, and this workshop today is industry specific, where you are as a business, You want to research and see. You want to reach out to see what resources the county may have. And again, if the county doesn't have it specifically for your niche, your need, your industry, we still want to work with you to see who has it and try to create that bridge, give you that connection. But when we're talking about my small business program and the fact that the county owns an airport, we own Port Everglades, we got county roads, we got county transportation, county buildings, library, parks. When it comes to all of that, and that procurement piece I told you about, we don't want our small business guessing. We want to make sure they understand our program, and based on understanding our program, see if there's a process and a place for them to actually participate. And if so, make sure that they meet the right people through county agencies and purchasing, and then be aggressive about county bids. So again, you'll also see a lot of our workshops that speaks to how to do business with Broward County. That's what the 3 Ps are about. And the next slide. And even though I just got through emphasizing the 3 Ps, government, we're not the final answer. And you have proven that. Many of you prior to COVID, and we're going to deal with that today, started your businesses without even knocking on our door, had successful businesses without even knocking on our doors. And as a part of an economic engine, that's a great thing. Some small businesses recognized there were opportunities, recognized there were going to be some services, recognized that there were some resources, and some did reach out. We're here to also help existing businesses sustain as well as expand. But on behalf of the county, we also try to attract new business to the county. And all of that leads us towards more workforce development. So I always have to use this slide and remind folks, everything isn't about us, but respectfully, those things which are about us, you need to understand those, know those, and carve out those pieces for yourself. So that's why we're here, to share with you what we can, but it's not enough in a 2-hour virtual workshop. It won't be enough. All your questions won't be answered, which is why, move on to the next slide, please. Which is why surviving the dark days of COVID, we got to be honest about it. And I've done this in multiple workshops. And again, I'll go back to something I just recently said. Many of you started your businesses in this county, in one of the 31 cities, and you were successful, and you never knew about this office. That's a good thing. But surviving these dark days as the county, as the state, as the federal government, because of a healthcare crisis, not punitively, but because of a healthcare crisis. Hard decisions had to be made that directly, not indirectly, directly impacted your business. We recognize these dark days. We now need to try to do something. We recognize what we can do isn't enough. But that's why it's now on you. That even with this workshop and beyond this workshop, I do need you to individually reach out to me in my office. Not so much the small business side, but the economic development side. You're going to hear from my ED manager, Mr. Tinsley. We want to work with you and talk to you as a business. As you get ready to pivot, make hard decisions, try to find out additional resources, try to determine if not only can you hang on, but if you hang on, can you thrive again? We want to talk to you for everything to see what resources we can link you to, what other information you may need to know. This may be different than when you started successfully 6 years ago. Now there might be some steps you need to back up into that we can aid you. These dark days means that you and I need to get personal, professionally about your business. So beyond this workshop today, where you are going to hear from my staff, but you're also going to hear from my close friend of the SBA, Ms. Harris, and you're also going to hear from Rozeta Mahboubi, and she'll kill me later if I botched her name, but it's a beautiful thing. She's on behalf of the Florida Restaurant and Lodging. We just want to bring some industry experts and potential resources to the table to begin to talk to you about some of the recovery steps. Again, it's not the entire answer. Some of you got needs that go beyond this workshop. Some of you are financially cash strapped. Some of you have already gotten the PPP and the EIDL, and that's gone, and you need the next funds. And my grant of 5, 10, and 15 doesn't scratch the surface for you. Some of you have to begin to revisit what are the other opportunities to access the capital as I create a new business model to grow and sustain. And if I'm going to market this opportunity, which now needs to be a safe opportunity, you can't do nothing if you're not using the word safe these days. But if I'm going to bring my business back, it has to be done so in a safe manner where I can also target that population, re-energize my business base and my customer, and once again, grow my business. So I'm telling you before you get started, today's workshop certainly has value, but it doesn't have all your answers. And your answers isn't the same as the other venue's answer, or the same restaurant answer, or the other restaurant across town. So as you begin to create what you need for your survivability, as you begin to create and begin to put that model together for what you need to go forward, if we can be of assistance, we want to be. So with that, I just want to thank you for joining us this morning. Thanks again for hopefully being a part of not just this RISE series. We're going to do this for about the next 4 to 5 months. Again, COVID related specifically. We've done over 50 workshops. If you go back and look at our website, you see we normally do about 96 a year anyway. We just try to bring valuable information to our small businesses. But because of this uniqueness and because of what we're all struggling with COVID, and yes, I'm watching the news like you, I need my federal government partners to do this next stimulus. I need them to give me more flexibility in the monies they might give me so I can find creative ways of getting that cash to you guys. And then I need to be able to leverage that to even get more financial resources using my financial institutions to make affordable money available for you. But again, even as we're hoping and wishing for that day, and I do professionally believe it's going to happen, you have to start planning right now, strategizing right now, even with your financial struggles. What are the real steps for me sustaining, for me surviving, and growing back to thriving as a business? And we're excited that you're listening today. We're excited that you're here today. I hope we can be of service, not only today, but beyond, because we need your business in our community. Hospitality and the industries that directly impact hospitality is still who we are as a county. Yes, we're diversified in our business footprint, but hospitality is who we are. If we want to get back to that day where there's 32 million passengers coming through our airport, the tourists here on a regular basis, and we're not only serving the tourists, our visitors, you serve those of us who live here. So we need to see you survive and thrive, and we need to be a part of that if we can. So with that, I'm done. That's my spiel for the day. But please stay in touch with our office. You're going to see slides later on that's probably going to give you all of our social media platforms and the links and how to contact us. But I am telling you on the record, I need you to reach out to me one-on-one. Let's schedule that meeting, and it's either going to be with me or with Mr. Tinsley or both of us, but we want to talk to you specifically about your struggles, your challenges right now, and what it is that we're aware of that you might not be aware of as you're planning your next steps. So with that, thank you. And I think right now we're getting ready to turn it over to Mr. Tinsley, our ED manager.
Thanks, Andy. Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Tinsley, the Economic Development Manager for the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. So I manage the economic development programs offered by our office, and among those programs is one of our most successful programs is our Entrepreneurship and Entrepreneur Development Program. That program, since 2013, has offered half-day workshops, 10-week business plan development courses. We've trained over 300 entrepreneurs through our half-day workshops, and we've graduated over 65 attendees of our 10-week business plan course. We provide seed grant money to some of those graduates. We've provided over $100,000 in seed money grants to the graduates of our 10-week new venture program, and we feel that we're having a real impact. And we're also trying to empower entrepreneurs to make the necessary planning steps that they need in order to ensure their success and their viability. as they move forward through the business growth process. So we're very pleased to be with you this morning and very pleased to have an opportunity to talk with you about some of the things that we think are important in terms of how you pivot in this changing environment and how you establish the sort of foundation that will lead to growth within your business. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we stress within our entrepreneur development program is the need to be an intentional entrepreneur and not an accidental one. In the kind of business sector that we're talking about today, whether it's hospitality, whether it's entertainment, arts, food and lodging, what we find in that sector is that that sector is driven by entrepreneurs who know how to do something, right? So whether it's a restaurant and you have a very skilled person that has been in the culinary area for a long time, or an artist that creates products, creates art, writes, paints, creates musical art, whatever the case may be, that sector is really focused on the individual talents of the entrepreneur themselves. But what happens in that case is a lot of those businesses grow out of what an entrepreneur is able to do. So as you become better at your craft, it starts to make more sense to you that, hey, I could actually have a business. I could start a business doing this. I'm passionate about it. I do it well. I could start a business. And you sort of drift into becoming an entrepreneur without stopping and putting some of the basic building blocks of analysis and assessment in place that will help you be successful. And so what happens is, you have a following of customers, you have the passion and energy for what you're doing, but what you find is as soon as you hit a few potholes or a few bumps, or there's an up or down shift in the economy, then the business starts to struggle and there isn't that level of planning to fall back on, right, to get yourself through these tough times. And so what we focus on is to make sure that you take that step back. And we spend a lot of time here working with entrepreneurs and helping them take that step back to put the necessary planning building blocks in place to be successful. And so you have to start with a strategy. You have to start by building a support network around you of folks who have the kinds of skills and abilities that you don't have. One of the challenges to entrepreneurs is accepting and admitting the fact that I can't do everything. I'm not good at everything. Doesn't make you a bad entrepreneur. It makes you an entrepreneur aware of what you need to do in order to strengthen your business and the kinds of talent and skills you need to surround yourself with in order to grow your business and put your business on a solid footing. And the next thing you need to be thinking about is what it is you're trying to get out of this business, right? You enjoy what you do, you're passionate about it, but ultimately, what's the goal? What's the end goal? What does your ultimate success look like, right? What's the end point? Enjoying the journey is an important part of it. Doing the work, generating the revenue, having a livelihood is very important, but there always has to be an end in mind. And so we recommend that in taking that step back, that entrepreneurs who are thinking of taking the leap, begin that leap with the end in mind. What does the end of this journey look like? Am I building a business that I can build into a value point that I can sell? Am I building a legacy business that my family will carry on after I'm retired or moved on? Do my family members, my children, want to be in this business when I'm ready to step away? These are all things that you should be thinking about at the onset, because we also know a number of entrepreneurs who are still in business. For that very reason, the family is not ready to take that over or not interested, and we haven't spent the time building the kind of value in the business that makes it marketable. And so those are all the kinds of things that entrepreneurs need to be thinking about on the front end, so that as you get to your destination, you end up in the place that you intended to be. Next slide. So that starts with an assessment of yourself. And again, this is not really about, oh, wow, I don't know this, I don't have that. Almost all entrepreneurs have the passion, have the energy and drive and desire to do a thing. But without question, every entrepreneur has those blind spots, those areas where, I'm not really that good with the accounting. I'm a good talker, I'm a good communicator, but that doesn't necessarily make me a good marketer, right? Can I craft messages? Do I understand my audience? Do I know who I'm marketing to? These are all the kinds of things that as you're thinking of taking the plunge, you have to make sure that you build out your network with folks who have those skills. And in the early stages of your business, a lot of those folks are going to have to, what they're really making an investment in is you. They're going to have to invest in you. You don't have a lot of resources to pay consultants, to pay marketing firms. So it's good to build out a network of folks with expertise that believe in your vision. And that is where your energy and drive and communication skills as an entrepreneur are most important. Because not only do you have to market your business to your end client, but in the early stages of your business, you have to market your ability to be successful to people who can help you. It's not only a matter of convincing a bank to lend you money. It's not just a matter of convincing a city or a county to make certain investments or provide grants or investments in your business. It's really about convincing your friends in your network, from accounting to legal to marketing. When people think you have a good idea and when they begin to invest and believe in you, you'd be amazed at the things that they're willing to do to help you move your idea forward. But it starts with you having the passion and desire and the knowledge and wisdom to know what skills you need to surround yourself with, and not trying to do everything yourself. Next slide, please. So as you're making this assessment, you've really got to think about what's important to you and whether or not this business idea is really consistent with what's important to you. One of the things that I can say that I've heard, probably outside of course, the typical, I started without enough money and I can't seem to get enough funding to get my business, really up and running. That's probably the number one concern that people come to our office with. But another one is that entrepreneurs who've been in business for a little while, maybe they hit a rough patch, maybe they're just barely making it, invariably say to me, it's not exactly the way I thought it would be. I am spending a lot more time doing things I didn't think I'd be doing. I started this business idea because I wanted more freedom to do more things, maybe spend more time with my family. And what I found is I'm spending far more time trying to get this business off the ground than I did when I was working a 9-to-5 job. And so you have to be thinking that that's what's going to happen. That is what will happen. You will find yourself working far harder to get this business idea off the ground than it would be just to take a job with an employer, and then at 5 o'clock you leave for the day. So you have to be thinking about what your personal priorities are. A lot of folks say, hey, I wanted to travel. I wanted to spend more time with my children. I wanted to do these. And now I find that I'm doing 15 hours a day at work. Yep. That's probably what's going to happen, and because in the industry sector we're talking about today, as I mentioned, it is based in a large part on the entrepreneur's personal abilities. What do you know how to do? Do you know how to bake? Do you know how to cook? Are you a painter? And the end product is generally produced by the entrepreneur themselves. But that only represents what you're able to do today, right? So you also have to be thinking from a professional standpoint, where do I want to grow within my profession? And is operating a business going to impede that? Am I going to look up 10, 15 years from now and realize that I didn't really reach the level within my profession that I wanted to reach? And was that more important than maybe running this business? And then the final question is, how does all of that tie together? And how does where you want your business to go fit in to those personal and professional goals? So again, this is all the kind of stuff that we're encouraging entrepreneurs to think about before you make the plunge. And it seems, oh yeah, I know. But when you start to really get into it, I guarantee you, at some point, this thought of, this is not exactly what I thought it would be, will come up. And so you really have to be thinking through what you are prepared to sacrifice and what the folks around you are prepared to sacrifice in order to make this business vision come true. The next slide, please. Now, once you've made the commitment and you're sure I've got what it takes. I've got a network of folks willing to help me. I've got the ability. I've got the passion. I'm ready to go. You have to start to train your mind to look for entrepreneurial opportunities, right? There's the big idea. There's the main idea, whatever that idea is, whether it's, restaurant business or whether it's marketing consulting or whatever your business idea is. All right, there's the main idea. But one of the things that we stress to our entrepreneurs is to go through the exercise of mind mapping. And what we mean by that is to start to really look at what your core business idea is and try to identify where other opportunities exist. Now, we use here on this slide the idea of caring for aging parents, something that a lot of folks are going through. A lot of folks are caring for their parents or are growing concerned about the responsibilities of caring for their parents going into the future. But there's more to it than just thinking of it holistically. It's looking at each of those individual components that make up that concept and trying to figure out if there are things in there that are marketable, things there that you're better at than a lot of folks, and things that you might be able to sell within the idea itself. Now, we use the care and aging slide, and we talk about different things, different services associated with that. But I want you to think a little bigger for a minute. I think we're all familiar, you can't not be at this point, right, familiar with Amazon, right? One of the largest, the world's biggest store. They sell everything to everybody. And so when we think of a company like that, we think about Amazon as this Goliath online retailer who can get anything you want to anyone that wants it within a few days, right? They've got tentacles that reach beyond. And so you think of Amazon and think, well, that's a great business idea. But there's so many things as you think about this mind mapping exercise. There's so many elements of what makes Amazon successful that we really don't think about. For example, how do they know what you want? How do they know where it is? Amazon doesn't make anything, right? They sell things that other people make. So how do they know how to source it? How do they know what things that they should warehouse and what things that they should source from other sellers? How do they know how to get it where you're going to go, where it needs to go? How do they know what you're going to buy next? How then, after you complete a transaction, how can they build a profile of you as the Amazon customer so that they can begin to recommend things that you might want next? Well, there are relationships that can be built through all of those transactions. And Amazon has become an expert at that. And some of you probably heard of, for example, Amazon Web Services. Well, this is the backbone, the architecture of how they do what they do, right? So they have built these relational databases. They have huge storage capacity of data on their customers, on their patterns, on where products are made, sourced, how quickly they can move them from one place to another. They've built out this infrastructure that makes them the biggest store, right, in the world. So what a small group of Amazon employees thought of is, hey, we've got a lot of stuff here that we think other retailers and other businesses could use to better understand their customers, to streamline their sourcing, to be able to warehouse information on their marketplace. And so they began to sell these services, Amazon Web Services, to businesses of all disciplines. See, that's the mind mapping. That's thinking beyond just selling something to someone and thinking of all the little things that go into making that transaction happen and replicating that transaction. And what can we take from that and sell to someone else? And that's what this slide is really about. That's what the mind mapping idea is really about. Thinking about all the little components. And are there pieces of this puzzle that we can sell and market to other people? So as you're thinking about your business as it stands today, think beyond just the core business and start to think about all the little offshoots, all the little opportunities there are that make your business run that other businesses might benefit from. And then is there a way that you can market and package that? Next slide, please. So no matter what the business is, no matter what stage the business is in, plan, plan, plan. Every aspect of your business should have a plan. There should always be a plan A and a plan B. And then when things don't go well, you should have something to refer to that can help you identify where things went wrong. But if you don't have a plan and something goes wrong, well, we just start trying to figure out how to mitigate that. We just start trying to figure out how to fix it. No matter what stage you're in, you've got to be thinking through the next stage. What happens if my main plan doesn't work? And how exactly do I end up making money at this? And at the end of the day, that's what business planning is. A business plan is a document that should tell you how it is that you make money with this. And so what we recommend is that as you're looking through business opportunities, and as you're talking about what the overall strategy is for your business, you want to plan out everything you do. If you decide to advertise, there should be a rationale and a reason behind that. If you're planning to grow, right, it's not just a matter of putting numbers on a spreadsheet and hoping they go up, right? What we're really trying to do is have a specific map of how it is that our sales increase. In the early days, your operational plan might be, I come in and do everything. I'm the chief head cook and bottle washer, right? But over time, what you need to do is separate those operational activities so that as you grow, right, you can bring other competent folks in to do some of these things. But you have to have the plan in place first. And it's constantly evolving and constantly changing. Next slide, please. So, and one of the most important plans, and I know that our community relations and outreach manager, Tatyana McCall, will be talking with you in more specifics about branding and marketing as we go. But again, if you are thinking of starting a business, let's start by understanding where the potential is. Where on the time horizon is this industry? Is it growing? Is it declining? And there may be opportunities in a declining market. Back in the late 90s, our family was involved in a travel business, and we were marketing travel options, but we knew that by the time we got to the mid 2000s, there would be so much opportunity for folks to go online and book their own travel, book their own cruises, book their own experiences, that we knew we were on the end of that growth horizon. And while the travel industry is growing, the kinds of services we provided have declined some because users are becoming more savvy and more able to pick and learn about their own travel choices. And so just understanding that is important. You may not want to be in an industry that has tremendous growth. You may want a lifestyle business that's stable, but you need to understand what those potentials are. You are not operating in a vacuum. You are a part of a large organism, no matter what industry you're in. And you have to understand the trends and the movement of that industry. You have to understand who you're competing with. And of course, everyone says that. Know your competition. But in reality, that is on the big scale. That's Target knowing what Walmart is doing. That's Burger King knowing what McDonald's is doing. But it's also what you know about what your competitors here locally are doing. Understanding their capacity, understanding their competitive advantages. And you have to start to identify what you are better than them at. And that's an important thing. Think about that, because you're an entrepreneur, you know, and have a passion for what you're doing. You should be unrelenting in looking to create advantages, not just cruising along, but looking to create advantages in what you do. And that, it doesn't matter what business you're in, there's always an opportunity to create competitive advantages. Things that you do, whether it's more personable service, whether it's quicker response time, whether you can source certain products or produce certain products that others just can't produce. And then you lay on that, right? And you market that and you drive that, okay? But knowing that and having a great product, having a great mousetrap and all of that means nothing if you haven't really developed a strategy for how you reach folks that are going to use that mousetrap. And the key to that is understanding what that mousetrap user looks like. Because I can assure you that large companies who've grown from small to large, like Walmart and Target, not exactly the same customers. There is some overlap. I'm one of them, I go to both. But there is overlap. But believe me, large companies know exactly what their customers look like, where they live, about how much they make. They know those things. And you know them by studying the folks and collecting the data on folks who patronize your business and knowing what their tendencies are, and then looking for other people like that. And that's why all of that is part of the planning process before you even get started. And so you want to be thinking about how you're going to paint the portrait of what your ideal customer looks like. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, knowing what your industry potential is very important. But it goes beyond just knowing the size and general sales. What's the sales potential? Is it growing? That growth rate is going to have an impact on your sales. That's important. Are there new trends? And we've seen in retail, we've seen in, and as we look right now at the way that the restaurant business has evolved, at the way the transportation business is evolving, the way certain elements of hospitality industry are evolving. We can see trends, right? We see movements away from the traditional way that people are consuming these products. So we have to be on the front end of that, or else those trends will run right over us. But there's more to it than that. How can we, and we've seen this during the COVID outbreak as well, can we source the product that we need? Can we get the human resources that we need? All of those things are things we have to identify. And here in Broward County in the hospitality business, obviously we have, our economy is still very much driven by that. So we have, a very ready and able and plentiful workforce. But we've seen some interruptions in a number of things that build and support the hospitality industry. So understanding those channels of where the assets are, where the resources are, and if we can get those resources at prices that help us be competitive, those are all part of understanding our industry and understanding the industry profile. Next slide. So we already talked a little bit about the size and about growth opportunities. One important thing is you can always learn something, right, from being around other entrepreneurs and from your competition. You can always learn something. And so we want to welcome every opportunity as an entrepreneur. And you should know, if you're in the nightclub business, you should be a Rolodex of successful nightclubs in our general area, what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, what kinds of customers they have, right? And what people are getting out of the experience. That's your job to know. I know you're thinking, I got to work on my own business. But the only way that you can be successful is to build that knowledge of what's happening among your competitors in the marketplace. There is absolutely no substitute for that. And as I mentioned in the case of Target and Walmart and others, I guarantee you they know exactly what's happening in their competitor stores. They know exactly what kind of customer experience their competitors are providing. And you've got to know that too, no matter how large or small your business is. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, and as I mentioned, one of the things that's going to be critical for you as you are developing your business is identifying, after you've cataloged, right, these strengths, these weaknesses, after you've cataloged those among your competitors and in your industry, you've got to start to work on building your advantages, because that's really where it is. Building your competitive advantage is all about identifying those shortcomings. And they're in every industry. There are businesses, and we all know them. There are businesses that do things better than others. In a lot of cases, when you're patronizing a franchise, for example, you can even go to that same franchise from one location to the other and see things that one location is doing better than the other. That's part of the same company, right? So we're part of the same franchise, and yet some do things better than others. So what's important for you as an entrepreneur is to identify those handful of things that you are doing better or can do better or can improve on, and then really focusing on those and making sure that there is some edge that you have to the others. And now, you know, commodities are a different thing where it really doesn't matter where I stop because it's the same product. But generally in the business and in the sector we're talking about today, how well you do things matters. And it matters throughout entrepreneurship, but especially in hospitality, restaurant, tourism related businesses, entertainment, arts. How well you do things is your competitive advantage. And so you have to identify, hey, where am I better than my competitors? And then really focus on driving success through those advantages. Next slide, please. So a few things to think about in terms of success factors. As I said, you know, on a micro level, you know, you need to do a little Amazon work, right? So on a micro level, you need to understand your customers' tastes. You understand what's important to them, understand what motivated them to buy from you, and what's gonna keep them coming back. So you have to sort of profile your customers in a lot of ways. And the same is true within your competitors. One indicator of what your competitor is good at or what your competitor believes themselves to be good at is how they promote themselves, right? So what kinds of things are they advertising? Are they advertising quickness? Are they advertising, you know, the quality of their food or the quality of their experience? I mean, look at, you know, even as much as, you know, the way Disney World markets itself compared to other amusement parks and other entertainment venues, and you can see what they believe they're good at. And so that's another good indicator for you in terms of kind of understanding where your competition is. How are they promoting themselves? And so again, at the end of the day, your ability to identify your own little edge, your own competitive advantage, and then market and drive that is a critical key element for success. And it all starts with the analysis and the research and the planning that you do before you get started. Because once you're in it, it gets much more difficult to kind of back up and do these things. We've seen a number of entrepreneurs have to do that. So what we want to make sure we encourage you to do is wherever you are in your business journey now, take a look at the planning elements that you already have in place and begin to set out a plan to build out these areas that will drive your decision-making as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, that will help you in terms of laying a pathway to success. Next slide, please. Now, one more thing that I'll say and wrap up with this is that, you know, I mentioned earlier that you need to begin with the end in mind. Never do anything within your business that you're unable to explain why you're doing it, right? Never do anything that doesn't have specific and measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based outcomes, ever, right? So every decision you make in your business, you need to specify what it is you're trying to achieve, how you know it was successful, can we really do this, and is it important to my business? And then set yourself a deadline to have it done. Don't have a million things that you started, a million initiatives that you started within your business, and only a handful that got completed. Everything should be measurable, and it should be time-based, and you should be able to explain why it is we did that. If we placed an ad, this is why we did that. This is the market we were trying to reach. This is our customers consume this media, and that's why we did that. And then at the end, this is what we got out of it. Because if you can't answer all those questions, if you can't answer the questions on the little smart grid there, then you got to question, okay, so why do we do that? Why do we do that? And so it's very important for business owners with limited resources to make sure that for every dime you spend, that you've got these elements of the decision-making in place. And that will help you in terms of looking back, whether things are successful, they can be replicated. If they weren't, you can identify where they weren't and move on from there. And I think that's my last slide, and I really appreciate you listening. We'll be hanging around for questions afterwards. Next slide, please. But I think that's it for me. And at this point, I would like to introduce you to our Community Relations and Outreach Manager, our public information officer. Probably have 2 or 3 more titles back here that I could lay on her. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tatyana McCall, our CRO manager.
Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Tinsley, for that kind introduction. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning and taking a few minutes out of your day this morning to share with us in this Rise Business Forum. For this next segment, I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about branding and marketing. I want to make sure that we identify the key and distinct differences between them. I'm going to piggyback a little bit on some of the information that Dr. Tinsley shared with regards to competitive advantage and some other things, but I want to make sure that we talk about some industry specific information and examples for you, and that we identify how you make these pivots and changes here in the COVID environment. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. So in this segment, we're going to discuss 4 main things. We want to talk about what branding is. We're going to go through the distinctions, as I mentioned, between branding and marketing. Steps for building your brand, identifying what a SWOT analysis is, and how you can stay engaged. Next slide. So let's get into it. So you've got branding and you've got marketing. And oftentimes these 2 terms are used interchangeably, but there are some key and distinct differences that I want to make sure that you are clear on before you leave this morning. So some people think that it's advertising, they relate it to promotions, to logos, to selling, to image, to various things. And while those elements are encompassed in these terms, we want to make sure that we clearly define for you what branding is versus what marketing is. Next slide. So, branding versus marketing. Branding comes first, ladies and gentlemen. So you as business owners, especially in this current COVID environment, as you are reinventing yourself, as you are trying to pivot and identify how you can differentiate your products and services, and the way that the community is able to use what you have to offer, you have to be clear with who you are. That's first and foremost. So branding is your promise. It is your image. It is your reputation. So that is what you have to be clear on when you are trying to determine what your brand is going to be. Marketing then comes after that. You're going to use marketing to communicate who you are, what your promise is, your image, and your reputation. So you want to establish your brand first, and then you will implement marketing second to then communicate your message. So branding is who you are. It creates loyal customers and advocates that you can then use marketing to find buyers. Branding is strategic and marketing is tactical. That is a key important difference. What are the differences? Strategy is your overarching plan, your set of goals for your business, for who you are. So right now in the COVID environment, you might be having to reevaluate what you're able to do, what your strategic plan is going to be. You may have to be modifying. Every now and then businesses have to go back and rebrand. And we're kind of in that stage and element here today as we're dealing with the impacts and effects from COVID. So branding is your strategy. It's your set of goals, your overarching specific plan or steps, if you will. Tactical measures with respect to marketing are the actual action steps, those specific action plans that you're going to put in place to accomplish that strategy. So you want to be clear that branding aligns with strategy and marketing aligns with tactics. Branding starts with you, ladies and gentlemen, whereas marketing starts with your customer. You have to be clear as a business with who you are, what you're offering, the image you want to convey to your customers so that you can attract those customers and those loyal supporters, and that you can then use marketing to communicate that information. Marketing is your message. Marketing will find your buyers. Marketing is how you attract people to your brand that then become your loyal customers. And so therefore, marketing starts with your customer and branding starts with you. Next slide. So what is branding? It's so much more than the logo. And that's what people initially identify branding with. They see the logo that's, pleasantly placed or on the flyers, the marketing advertisement. But you have to be clear that branding is more than just your logo. It is in fact how your customers recognize your company, and it's what makes you stand out. So as Steve talked about a little bit with respect to competitive advantage, it's your positioning in the marketplace as well. So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit more here on the next slide, but it's important important to understand that branding does encompass your product placement, your position in the market, as well as your competitive advantage. Branding is a way for your audience to understand, again, what your image and reputation is. It establishes goals, and it's making connections that translate into long-term relationships with your customers. Branding is about relationship building. So as this illustration here of the apples is demonstrating or being symbolic of, in your environment in the entertainment and restaurant industry, there are all types of businesses, all types of sounds and sights and things that are specific to your particular business. But in this field, in this industry of restaurants and entertainment, you've got to figure out how to position yourself and differentiate yourself from your competition. So in this illustration, we've got a bunch of apples, but there's one apple that stands out for one or two reasons, depending on how you look at it, and or both. So that red apple is sitting in a different position than the other green apples. So that's one way that it is differentiating itself. It's sitting on top, its placement is higher. The other obvious indication and differentiation is the color. It is red and the others are green. You can't get a clear depiction from this particular illustration, but 1/3 difference can be the size. So you want to make sure that you are identifying, and this is a simplified illustration to make sure that you can understand the concept, but differentiating your product and positioning your product is going to be important as a part of your branding strategy. Next slide. Excellent, thank you. So with regards to the power of positioning, as we started talking in the previous slide with regards to the apples, the different color, size, and location, you need to understand the power of your position in the market. And the first thing you want to ask yourself is, are there viable substitutes for your product or service? And this should be relatively obvious at this point, especially having gone through COVID. Are there other substitutes that are taking the place of the things that you were able to provide or that you were trying to provide here in the current post-COVID timeframe? You need to be clear. If there are viable substitutes, how do I differentiate myself? Competitors can offer the same product or service at the same price, and sometimes they're able to do it even better. They can offer a better quality product, or they can offer it at a better price point. So what makes you stand out? You need to figure out how to differentiate yourself. Are you going to be that pink lemon? Are you going to be that red apple? How do you understand the power of your position? And so with respect to these viable substitutes, you have some people, and again, I'm gonna give you a simplified illustration or a simplified example, that get thirsty and they just want a cola. They are craving a cola. And for some people, it doesn't matter if it's Coca-Cola or if it's Pepsi-Cola. Whereas then you have others that are very particular and very loyal to one brand or the other, and they will only drink Coca-Cola or they will only drink Pepsi-Cola. You've got to be you want to make sure that your product or service has a preference, that people will make sure that they are loyal to what you have to offer. So you got to figure out how to quench that taste for what you have to offer in terms of what the public is looking for. So figure out how you can stand out from the crowd, and that will establish the power of your position as well as the product placement for your particular product or service. Next slide. So now we're going to transition really quickly into the 7 steps of building your brand. And as I go through these, I'm going to provide you with information, but then I'm also going to give you some suggestions for action items, especially since we are in this COVID environment now, and we should be thinking about how we make transitions, how we make new connections, how we build new relationships, how we pivot our brand to still be successful in this post-COVID environment. So if you've got something to write with close to you, you might want to grab it at this time, although the presentation is being recorded and you will be able to view it on our YouTube channel after the event. So at this time, we'll go to the next slide for our first step on building your brand. Step 1 is understanding branding. So we've already defined for you what branding is compared to marketing. So you now understand that branding comes first. So it requires knowing your ideal customer and targeting that exact demographic, which in marketing we call market segmentation. The field is large. The industry is large. There's all different size restaurants, all different size entertainment, all different branding, all different tastes, all different sights, sounds, and smells and feels that come into the various venue that you may have, product or service that you're offering. You need to know the specific demographic of your population. Who is using what you have? Who is buying what you're selling? Who is coming to your venue? Who listens to the music that you're performing? These are important elements of understanding branding so that you can communicate your image, your values, and have visual elements that align with your brand. So your brand is your identity as a company, and it will align with your logos, your color selection, the email marketing messages that go out, social media posts, your customer service. And so as you're in the environment of COVID now, you need to ask yourself, what was I doing that worked? What from that initial brand will still work today, and what is not working? So how do I pivot? How do I change directions to be effective with my brand today? So what you can do now is decide what branding strategies apply to your business today. Again, we're at this reevaluation stage. So we've got to, we can't just continue doing business as usual. And as Steve mentioned about the importance of plans, Benjamin Franklin once said that if you fail to plan, then you are planning to fail. So you want to have clear plans, and that includes your branding strategy as well as your marketing strategy. So decide what branding strategies apply to your business. Create a list of messages that you want to communicate with your revised brand, your new brand, or if you didn't have a brand, the brand you're going to now develop. And then you want to do some market research, as Steve also mentioned. You want to understand and you want to look at some of how some of your favorite brands are using brand identity to stand out. Next slide. Step 2, you want to determine your audience. And I have that word bold for a reason. Your target audience cannot be everyone. Where some small businesses go into bad situations with respect to marketing and spending useless dollars is they try to mass market to everyone to try to drag the net to kind of see who they can catch in their net. But the people that you're catching may not be relevant to your particular product, service, or business venue. So you want to get specific. This is a time, ladies and gentlemen, when you need to be clear with who is buying what you have, who is coming to your venue. You want to know your audience, understand what they want, know their buying power, learn their consumer behaviors so that you have a clear understanding of who your audience is. A clear audience is a clear target for your brand. And that's what market segmentation is all about. You got a large market and everybody in that market is not your customer. So you want to be efficient and effective with how you're reaching them and drawing them in, especially in this time where dollars really matter right now. Funding is limited. People are trying to stretch their resources for their businesses as they continue to try to build these relationships and draw people back in. So you want to be clear with who is buying what you have so that you're not wasting your time with those who are not. So know your audience, know what they want, know their buying power, and learn their consumer behaviors. What you can do now is create that ideal customer profile. Sit down, do inventory of who uses my product or service, what age group, what lifestyle, what gender, what ethnicity, who is coming to my restaurant and buying my food, and how, and where are they located. So it's important that you understand exactly who your customer profile is. Next slide. If we were in person, I would ask you to show me by raise of hands, how many of you in small business have a mission statement? Since I cannot see your hands, I'm going to venture. Oh, thank you. I've got 2 participants have a raised hand, 2 out of 41, which is exactly what I expected. When asked this question, when I'm teaching marketing classes, the majority of small businesses do not have a mission statement, which is a big mistake. Your mission statement is the foundation of your brand, ladies and gentlemen. It identifies what your company is passionate about. It allows you to connect with your audience, and it allows your employees and your customers to understand the goals of your company. So this is really step one. If you do not have a mission statement, it is time that you get one. You need to have a mission statement that is visible, whether it's on your marketing material, on your website, visible inside your restaurant or inside your venue. You need to have a mission statement that establishes your identity, your values, what you're trying to accomplish as a business, that allows you to, again, build those relationships to connect with your audience. So if you don't have one, what you can do now is review successful mission statements from other businesses. Look within your industry. Look at some other statements, mission statements within the industry to see how people have keywords that people are using that align with what is important to you in terms of your foundation and what you want to accomplish and stand for in the community. Write a draft of your mission statement and have some peers or a mentor review it for you. Next slide. Step 4, Steve touched on this, and I want to harp on it just a bit further. Step 4 is knowing your competition. You have to be aware of how your competition is moving in the market. You need to know what they're doing, not for the purpose of replicating or for directly competing, but it's so that you can understand how to differentiate yourself from the competition. I think I saw in the chat while Steve was talking, someone put in about the blue ocean strategy, and that's about differentiation and low cost, and that is important. That allows you to identify gaps in the marketplace so that you can fill those gaps. So if you are clear with what your competition is doing, that allows you to make moves. And especially right now in COVID, when people are having to, again, move in different directions, they're having to pivot and transition, they're having to fill those gaps. You can't fill them if you don't know what they are. So it's important that you do inventory of what your competition is doing. Know where the gaps are in your industry and create a competitive advantage. Steve touched on this as well. I gave 3 very simplified competitive advantages, again, so the concept could be grasped, but some of the common ones are being first to market. You know, right now you can be first to market in many things as people are changing directions. So what's a new food, a new product, a new service, a new sound that you can bring to the market that can relate to where people are right now in COVID? That might be comforting. If are there businesses that are not adhering to the safety, requirements, and they're having, issues with regards to compliance and those things? Is there a gap that you can fill in those marketplaces? When the masks came out, that was a huge gap in the industry that people started filling. So you want to make sure that you're clear on certain ways that you can create a competitive advantage. You can be first to market. You can be a lower production cost. You can produce your product or service or your food or what have you at a lower production cost. And then there's 2 ways that benefits you. You can either transfer those savings onto your consumers, to your customers, and allow your cost, your price point to be lower, or if competition's prices are already at a certain level, you can keep them there and allows you to have a higher profit margin, which right now in this day of COVID is important. Or you can have a better quality product, better quality food, larger portions, better value for the price point. There are different ways that you can create competitive advantage in your industry, and it's important that you do that. So what you can do is identify who your competitors are, learn their strengths and areas of improvements, and find those gaps. Next slide, please. Step 5, the visual basics. So again, this is where we talked about how the logo. And as those 3 logos there at the bottom indicate for you, with everybody's familiar with the NFL, whether you watch football or not, you've got McDonald's and those golden arches, and Southwest is known as one of the low-cost carriers. It is important that you have a logo that represents the image, the reputation, the values of your company. And so this is one of those elements where you want to make sure you set aside a few dollars in your budget when you're doing your planning to make sure that you can get this done professionally. If you are not a designer, this is the time that you call a professional. And you can do it pretty cost effectively as well. Your logo is going to be the most important visual representation of your brand. It's going to be the first thing they see on your business card, on your advertising, your marketing collateral, your promotional material, your newsletter, your menu, in your shop window, wherever you're going to have messaging. Your logo is going to be there. Billboards, radio, they won't see it in radio, but in TV. But your logo is going to be important. So when you're deciding what your logo is going to encompass, you have to consider color palettes, size, fonts, image styles, web elements. All these different things matter, and they should match your messaging. You want to consider, again, that mission statement, which is the foundation of what your brand is going to be built on. You want to make sure that that is reflected in the logo as well. So what you can do now, if you don't have a logo, or if you're in the process of rebranding because of COVID and you're having to make some adjustments, and so you're going to tweak your brand using your mission statement, research some visual elements that express your key ideals for your business. And then you can get a graphic designer or a branding specialist. You can get one online. Again, it's minimal dollars. There's all kinds of resources available now online. You can get this done pretty quickly and efficiently, but you do want it to be professional. You want it to be quality. So reserve, again, a few dollars in your budget to make sure that you have the professionalism that is needed to be demonstrated through your logo in terms of your visual basics. Next slide. Number 6. Craft your voice. You need to be heard throughout your industry. And in this illustration, in terms of voice, we're talking about not just the sound, but the visual as well. Determine the best way to communicate with your audience. Especially in this COVID environment, you've got to have a digital presence, and you've got to be in the places where your population and your demographic are. So you want to make sure that you, again, as you understand who your audience is, those previous steps that we talked about, as we've worked up to step 6, now you know who your audience is, you know what they want, you know their buying power. You have all this information. You're clear with who your ideal target audience is. We've narrowed it down. We've segmented your market. We found your niche in the market. Now you need to figure out where they're at. How do I reach them? How do I communicate with them? And you have to craft your voice accordingly. In this crafting of your voice, we want to make sure we eliminate this concept called noise. In marketing, noise is a distraction. It's anything that takes away from your message. Each of us have passed billboards as we've driven down the road, or we watched commercials on TV that have had a whole lot going on. They may have been interesting, they may have been very creative, but then when the commercial ends or you get past the billboard, you're asking yourself, well, but what was that advertising? You definitely don't want that to happen, ladies and gentlemen. That is called noise. If when it's all said and done, you've got all this great, colorful visuals, but then people don't know what you're advertising, they've been distracted, and that is taken away from your message. And that is ineffective use of your advertising dollars. So you want to eliminate noise, make your scripts clear, concise, and consistent. What I call the 3 C's: clear, concise, and consistent messaging. You must do that in all of your marketing, whether it's on your business cards, flyers, your website, radio, wherever you're sending a message, however you're communicating with your population, you want to have clear, concise, consistent messaging that is void of noise. So learn how to interact with your audience in a way that speaks to them. If your population are millennials, they are all over social media. They're on all these various platforms. They're on TikTok. They're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. They're on all these different mediums. If you're not efficient and effective in it, then you got to find a way to get efficient and effective in it. And that's more cost effective for you as well. You don't want to be advertising in a medium where your people are not. So understand where they are and speak to them in a way that they can hear you. What you can do now is research your audience and know where they get their information. Is it through blogs, social media, publications, radio? Where are they at? And reach them there. Determine how your company can appeal to those platforms while finding your own unique voice, tone, and message. Next slide, please. Step 7, and this is the last step in building your brand. It's be transparent. This is the emerging brand paradigm right now, ladies and gentlemen. With all of the digital marketing and the access to social media, consumers want to be informed. They want to know and they want the truth. Social media can be your friend or your foe. It can provide a useful resource for marketing what you have and sharing your information, or it can tarnish your brand if people take to social media complaining because you've not been forthcoming, or your product had poor quality, it wasn't what you said, the food tastes horrible, the performers, were not prepared, the show started late. All these different things can be a negative, and social media can work against you in that regard. So it's important that you are transparent in the information that you provide. It builds brand loyalty, and it's an extremely powerful tool for brand communication. Response Media says that 62% of consumers will often or always switch to a transparent product. And right now, in this COVID environment where people are hungry for information, they're hungry for access. And right now, when we're in this whole, COVID craze where people are tired of being cooped up and they want to be out back in the restaurants and shopping and being entertained, you've got to create a transparent environment where people can feel safe, where they feel like they're not going to come and be ill. And when they walk in, they see the safety measures that are in place. So you want to be transparent in your branding. Use clear, again, and honest messaging. Be upfront with costs. You don't want to have a bunch of hidden fees. Just make the price the price. And if there are some other, other costs, make sure they're clearly identified. And include transparency in your marketing messages. Next slide. So lastly, before we go into just the engagement piece, I want to talk to you quickly about SWOT analysis. So many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is a strategic planning technique or a framework that you use to analyze your business. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And in this analysis, I have that second T. Everybody does not use the second T, but I strongly encourage and recommend it, especially in what we're going through with COVID, is you want to consider trends. Every industry will not be affected and impacted by trends, but you want to consider them. You don't want to overlook them and make the assumption that your industry is not affected by different trends. So this is a reflection or an analysis internally and externally of your business. So your strengths, you want to identify, what is it that I do well? Do I have great customer service? Do I have great food? Do I have great musicians that play in my venue? What is it that I do well? Do I have great portions? Do I have great value for the dollar? What are my strengths? Weaknesses, where am I not so efficient? Where do I need to get better? Do I have high turnover? Are my servers, not providing customer service? Do I have poor employee morale? Am I not taking advising to all of the CDC guidelines in this COVID environment? Where are my weaknesses? What can I do better? Opportunities. Where can I grow? Where can I pivot? Where can I improve? You may have one product line right now, but how can I diversify that? How can I offer additional services or pull back some services in order to be more efficient in my profit margins, in my customer service? If I've had to cut staffing because of COVID, so then how can I maybe reduce some of my services so I'm still efficient, I'm still providing, but I'm maybe preserving some of my overhead costs? Where can I grow, pivot, and improve? What are my opportunities? Threats. What are potential problems for me? We know that one obvious threat, of course, is competition, but you want to continue to look externally and internally for other threats, things that are problems for you as a company, as a business. And then lastly, as I mentioned, are trends. You want to consider what external factors you need to consider that can impact your business. Here in Florida, we have hurricane season every year. And if you have an outdoor business or outdoor dining or different things along those lines, you want to consider, it can be weather trends. If you're in entertainment or fashion, there are fashion trends or different things. So you want to just be mindful of what those trends are. Next slide. So just kind of tying things up with regarding to your entertainment, entertainment marketing. Entertainment marketing lives within its media, kind of like sports marketing. It's consumed as it is being performed. So if you're at a concert or a football game or what have you, the marketing and the product is being consumed in real time. So you want to be mindful of that with regards to your entertainment in terms of marketing. Have succinct marketing strategies, product placement, that's positioning, brand integration and co-promotion. And of course, in entertainment, you want to have endorsements if you can. Local celebrities, personalities, encourage them to come to your venue, take pictures, have your wall of fame, all those different types of things with regards to endorsements. Next slide. And lastly, you want to stay engaged. If you are not currently subscribed to the OESBD BAW, our Business Assistance Weekly, which is our weekly newsletter that comes out every Wednesday evening, it's an opportunity that you can get engaged. You can use the camera on your phone and aim it towards the QR code there, and you'll be able to send an email requesting to be receive our BAW. So attend pre-bid meetings, network at outreach events, attend these type of workshops so that you can participate, and seek technical assistance when you need it. Next slide. So your 3 takeaways from this segment is branding and marketing are complementary concepts that work together, but they are distinctly different. And you need them to establish and grow your business, but branding comes first. SWOT analysis is your strategic planning. And you want to make sure that you consider all of those different elements as you try to redevelop your business. And lastly, stay engaged. Networking and building relationships combine with knowing what your opportunities are that are available. You want to make sure that you stay connected at all times. And I believe that's it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.
Hey there. Can y'all hear me? I think you can. My mute button is off. My name is Althea Harris, and I work with the U.S. Small Business Administration Office in Miami. I am attempting to share my screen. Just bear with me a moment. I am a little bit technologically challenged. Bonetta, can I share my screen? It's not letting me. Oh, there you go. Is that my screen?
We have incorporated your slides as well, so we can still move forward if we can't get yours shared.
Oh, okay. I added some slides. Okay.
Okay,
well,
we'll see what we can do.
We'll see what we can do. Well, so can I just pause for a moment and say, wow, what an excellent, excellent morning this has been. Dr. Tinsley, I mean, wow. And Ms. McCall, amazing. You all, I feel like I've been drinking water from a fire hydrant. And that is just so awesome. The information you provided this morning, I can't tell you how valuable that is. For people who thought that starting a business was just about, cooking up some food and serving it to people, I think you now know it is far more involved than just, perfecting your recipes. Okay, I think I'm about to share my screen. Awesome. Thank you so much. I don't understand why it's not working. But I guess, okay, I tell you what, if you'll advance the slides that you have, and I'll just include what I wanted to share verbally.
Okay, we'll do.
How's that? Thank you. I appreciate you trying. I've never had this particular challenge before. Okay, so next slide, please.
No problem.
All right, so wanted to talk to you a little bit today about financing your business with the options that are available through SBA. Again, my name is Althea Harris, and if you'll go to the next slide. Will you click that and see if it'll play the video? I'm sort of curious about that now. Nope. Okay, very good. It didn't work. No problem.
Yes,
all right,
I think ours were just static.
Okay, no worries. Just a little bit about me. I've been in federal service for 27 years. I started my career in Washington, D.C., which is also my hometown, where I started at the Commerce Department, and I had the opportunity to travel worldwide in support of small businesses. Then I moved over to the General Services Administration, where I learned about how the government does business, which was very enlightening, and it really helps me to appreciate the work that I get to do with Sandy's office, helping business owners access government contracts. I went to Howard University and the University of Miami Law School. I like to read and putz around in my tropical garden. And I like to work out, and that is my workout partner, my Rhodesian Ridgeback. And that's my family. We have 4 beautiful children, and I'm married to the one and only Robert Harris. Next slide, please. Let's see. So SBA's mission is to help entrepreneurs start, grow, and succeed in business. We serve as advocates for small businesses inside and outside government, and we help restore communities after disasters. There are an estimated, actually over 31 million small businesses in America by SBA standards, and they represent over 99% of all businesses in America, over 99% of all employers. They create 2/3 of all net new jobs. So our constituent base is very large and very dynamic and very important to the health and vitality of our country and the economics of our country, which I think we are all feeling the effects of that, particularly for your industry that hires so many people and provides so many vital services that people want, right? So your inability to be open at full capacity is having an economic effect on the country. So the ways that we support small businesses is in 4 primary ways. We provide access to capital, which I'll talk about, access to federal contracting. The federal government spends over $800 billion every year on goods and services. And we like to do at least 23% of that with small businesses. We provide access to high quality counseling, training, and mentoring, which I think has been a real important theme that we've heard this morning. It's sort of the how-to of business ownership, not so much the skills that you have as an artisan in the kitchen or the tunes that the DJ spins, but really about the behind the scenes important factors that make your business a success. And we provide access to long-term disaster recovery. And so this is where I'll diverge from the slides there that you have, because I want you to know that SBA has pandemic assistance. You all probably have heard us talk about the Paycheck Protection Program that was a part of the CARES Act that was passed by Congress and signed by the president in March. That program has expired. It expired on August 8th with $130 billion still available to small businesses. Unfortunately, all folks who wanted to access that program didn't do so. But SBA still has our Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And what's important and why I added these slides is the deadline to apply for this working capital loan is December 18th of this year. So in a couple of weeks, you may run out of time to apply for this loan program if you don't act quickly. What is it? It's a working capital loan up to $150,000 to assist you in your business with your ongoing overhead, working capital needs, payroll, rent, etc., that you're experiencing difficulty because of COVID. If you are a business of any size, you are eligible for this loan program. And I thought I saw someone in the chat asking about nonprofits. Nonprofit organizations are also eligible, most of them, for this loan. The terms are 30 years on this loan. The interest rate for businesses is 3.75% simple interest. For nonprofits, it's 2.75% simple interest, and there are no payments due for 12 months once you get the loan. It's important that you apply. You can do that on our website at sba.gov/disaster. Click the banner for Go COVID. Please, whatever you do, pay attention when you're filling out this loan application. I cannot tell you how many people are calling us and contacting us because they accidentally put in the wrong banking account information. Transposing two numbers, forgetting a number is going to derail your loan application. So please, concentrate, look at those banking numbers that you put in as if it were the winning lottery ticket number. You know how you would look and look and look and look again to make sure all the numbers are correct. So I just want to make sure that you all are aware of that. Anytime you can get long-term debt for short-term needs, you should snap it up. That's what my colleague says. This loan is designed to help you weather this pandemic storm, okay? So next slide, please. Okay, access to capital. We are sort of a middleman, if you will, between you and the lender. You go to the lender you want to do business with, and if they want our loan guarantee, they know what they have to do to get it from us. You don't have to think hard and long about an SBA guarantee. You don't even have to ask your lender for an SBA guaranteed loan. The lender knows and will decide whether or not they're going to ask us for the guarantee. Next slide. Our loan programs break out into two primary loan programs. The 7A loan program is the flagship product. It is the most utilized loan program we have. Again, this is where we provide a guarantee to the lender in case you don't repay the loan. You can use it for all of the working capital needs that are mentioned here on the slide. You can use it to buy equipment, to even straight out buy a business, to refinance certain debt. If you have high interest rate credit card debt and you want to refinance out of that, that is something, a bona fide use of proceeds under this program. You can use it for leasehold improvements. The 504 program is a program exclusively for the acquisition of real estate. So let's say you wanted to, instead of leasing your restaurant now, you want to own your restaurant, the real estate. You could use the 504 program to buy the property and build on the property. You could combine it with a 7A loan, maybe to outfit everything that you need in the restaurant. You can use the 504 loan for the kitchen equipment. And the one caveat with the 504 program is that you have to be creating jobs. And in your industry, that's going to be a done deal. So it is a very popular product with the banks because they only have to put up 50% or less of the money, but they get first lien holder position. SBA comes into the deal with our certified development companies who provide 40% of the proceeds, and you, the borrower, would come in with at least 10%, maybe more, another 5% because you're a restaurant. But it's a relatively low capital injection compared to other types of loan to acquire real estate. Next slide. So what we provide capital along a spectrum that can go from as little as $500 to over $5.5 million. Again, it's a guarantee. It's not a direct loan from us. You can also use 7A funds for exporting. but that's not relevant to you. Now, venture capital may or may not be relevant to you. Most people don't know that we have a venture capital program, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. We have microloans that start again at $500 and can go up to as much as $50,000, where the average is about $13,000. Next slide. Again, use of proceeds, pretty much any working capital need, and on the 504 side, in particular for fixed assets. Next slide. SBA also has what are known as alternative lenders, lenders who are not commercial banks. Micro lenders are among them, community advantage lenders who are mission-based, and venture capital investors. Next slide. Why would you even consider an SBA micro lender or an alternative lender? You might based on who you are. So micro lenders and alternative lenders do have competitive terms, but one of the things they offer is the counseling and education that we've been talking about today, the kinds of information you need to know but may not know, or you know now that a SWOT analysis is necessary, but you're not sure how to complete that. SBA's micro lenders and alternative lenders provide that kind of help to you that would support you in the running and management of your business. Now, micro lenders tend to have more flexible credit criteria, so they're not usually as fixated on your credit score. They also offer sometimes no need for collateral, which may be relevant for your industry. Sometimes they offer lower down payments. The fees and the rates are similar. Now, micro lenders do tend to be slightly higher than a commercial lender, but it is in part because they're offering all these other aspects that I'm talking about. Next slide. Okay, who's eligible for SBA loans? For-profit small businesses. Now, remember I said that over 99% of all businesses in America are small by our standard. The way that's measured is by your annual revenues averaged over 3 years or your number of employees. And in some contexts, employees can be as many as 500. So small businesses actually are run the gamut from, the small independent craft maker who sells items on Etsy, all the way up to very sophisticated businesses like your own. So the chances of you not being small are somewhat remote, right? If you're in that less than 1.1% of businesses in America. You have to be obviously owned and operated in the United States. You have to have an investment in your business, and you don't have other financing options. That means actually that you cannot get financing on reasonable terms. SBA does not consider a loan shark to be a reasonable financing option. So if you're having difficulty getting financing, you're eligible then for an SBA loan. Next slide. The micro lenders, a little bit more about them. They're typically nonprofit lenders. They're community-based and typically mission-based. So they may have as a mission to make sure that underserved communities have access to capital. They are an alternative to lenders. They often are able to connect you as well to other resources that can help you in your business. So there's a really good reason to be involved with a micro lender, particularly if you don't need large sums of money. So our SBA micro lenders are geared toward helping women, low to moderate income entrepreneurs, veteran and minority entrepreneurs who need small amounts of money. Next slide. We also have our Community Advantage loan program that's designed to help small businesses in underserved markets. They, again, are community-based, mission-focused lending operations who provide management and technical assistance for your business. The maximum loan amount for a community advantage lender is $250,000. And they also enjoy our loan guarantee. Next slide. Venture capital. Now, this is something that most people don't know, that SBA has a venture capital program. And I suppose that that's largely in part because most entrepreneurs are not venture capital eligible or venture capital ready. Nevertheless, SBA provides a license to small business investment companies, and those are private, experienced investors who come to us for a license and intend to raise a fund from which they will make investments. SBA requires them to make half their investments from the fund into small businesses. SBA will provide leverage to that fund, 1-to-1, sometimes 2-to-1 leverage to help increase the size of that fund. So let's say the investor has $5 million, but that's really insufficient to make the kinds of investments they need for the time periods they need in order to make a return on the money in the investment. So they can come to SBA and ask for, say, 1 or 2 leverage points. And so that fund can turn from 5 million to 10 million, or in the case of 2-to-1, 15 million. So, and then they take that money and invest it in small businesses. The venture capital, a small business investment company locally is in Miami, and they tend to like family-owned businesses, multi-generational family businesses. But so they're all idiosyncratic in what they want to make investments in. They are not relegated by geography. So you could make no headway with the SBIC in Miami, but maybe one in Michigan is willing to invest in your restaurant or your concept. Next slide. So I talked about that. They tend to like to make investments in small businesses with high growth potential. Again, sort of your tech firms, I mean, they would probably fall over themselves if they could discover the next Google, right? They do make equity investments, and they can make loans to small businesses as well, and they can do a combination. They typically want to be invested in your company for 3 years, looking to get a return on their investment, sooner rather than later. Whatever you do, obviously you're going to negotiate with them. It's a lot like what you see on Shark Tank, right? If you ever watch that. Next slide. Regardless, you're going to need certain documents, no matter who you deal with, whether inside an SBA loan program or outside of an SBA loan program. If you're a startup business, you've got to be for profit to get any attention from SBA. You're going to need a business plan, which it lays out what your business is about, where you're going. It incorporates some of the things we've heard before about a mission statement, the why you exist. How do you know anybody's going to be a customer of yours? Who is your competition? It integrates a lot of the information you've heard here this morning from Dr. Tinsley and Ms. McCall. So you'll need that. Now, does it have to be long? No, it doesn't have to be long. It just has to be thorough, okay? And it's gonna have to have your projections in it as well, when you believe you will make a profit. You're also going to need your personal financial statements if you're a startup, along with your personal tax returns. Now, if you're an existing business, again, you're gonna need that business plan. How is this capital injection going to help your business go to the next level, expand, break even, maybe make a profit? You've got to be able to repay this loan and have a clear sense of what you're doing day to day and in a long range way going to make you profitable and be able to repay that loan. In the case of the existing business, you're going to need not only your personal financial statement, but your financial statement for your business with your assets and your liabilities listed. Also, they have to be current, which is to say less than 90 days old. You're also going to need to show your personal and business tax returns. Every person or entity involved along lending wants to see your tax returns to see what kind of business you are. And Althea only reads letters and words, but bankers and folks involved in lending, they can read numbers. So please, if you don't know whether or not your numbers match your words, we can help you with that. Next slide. And the way we do that is through our resource partners. They provide well, not in person these days, but one-on-one consultation, mentoring, coaching through online platforms, of course. We provide through our resource partners seminars and workshops. We do that in English, we do that in Spanish, and they are will take you through every stage and question of business ownership. You know, who is my customer? I saw in the chat that one person couldn't really identify who her customer or his customer is for vegan products. You have a customer, no question about it, but like Ms. McCall said, not everybody's your customer. So how can you find them and segment them out? SBA's resource partners can help you with that. The small business development centers are throughout the state. You have an excellent center right there in Broward County. SCORE chapters are across the state and the country. You have an excellent SCORE chapter right there in Broward County. The Women's Business Center is just up the road in Delray Beach. In next county up, they can assist you. If you're a veteran-owned business, you also have access to the Veteran Business Outreach Center. It's in the Panhandle, but I have a colleague here, Joanna Colbert, who can work with you and the VBOC, connect you to some resources that can help you as a veteran-owned business, or if you are the spouse or widow or widower of a veteran, you can access certain programming that is reserved for that population. So please note, oh, I didn't, okay, so the updated slide tells you where you can reach our resource partners. You can find them on our website at sba.gov/local-assistance. sba.gov/local-assistance. I think that's I think I have one more slide just with my contact information on it. Yes, which I see is not easily readable, but it's my first name dot my last name at sba.gov. And I see someone already put it in the chat. You all are awesome. Thank you so much. And also, if you'd like to sign up for our newsletter and information about our programming that we do on a regular basis, we are offering programming on Mondays at noon in English and Thursdays at noon in Spanish. In the coming new year, we are working on more and more content to share with you. We have a YouTube channel. If you search SBA South Florida, it will turn up and you can view some of our program that we've already done. And we are always adding to that YouTube channel, so I encourage you to check that out. We offer right now PPP loan forgiveness webinars every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 1 o'clock. We also have virtual office hours where you can ask any question about SBA, our loan programs, the pandemic relief programs, et cetera. And, you know, as we switch over into the new year and a new Congress and potentially a new president, you know, there's going to be a lot of news to share. It's, you know, we anticipate there'll be a lot of news to share. So please do go to our local website, sba.gov/South Florida. And if you scroll to the bottom of the page in the right-hand corner, you'll see sign up for our newsletter. Please don't miss out on the opportunity to apply for an economic injury disaster loan. As I mentioned, that expires on the 18th. That will be, then it will be no longer offered for the pandemic. You can apply at sba.gov/disaster and click on the COVID banner if you're interested in receiving financial assistance due to COVID. And that's all I have for you. Thank you so much, by the way. I really appreciate the chance to talk to you today.
Thank you so much. And at this time, our next presenter is Miss Rozeta Mahboubi. I can't pronounce your last name either. I apologize. So please, if you can unmute her, start her video, and if you can start with giving us the correct pronunciation of your name, Miss Rozeta.
Hello. Yes, thank you so much. It is Rozeta Mahboubi. It's not easy to pronounce, but I appreciate you trying. I am the Broward Regional Director for Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, and I'm very happy to be here. And I agree with Althea. You guys have all done a fabulous job, including Ms. Harris. I think that the presentation was very informative. I learned a few new things, and I'm sure that the audience here is going to benefit from that. It is tough to be at the end because now I have to compete with all the amazing presenters here, but I'm going to do my best. So obviously from my title and the organization, we represent a niche part of the market and business. And Florida Restaurant and Lodging has an array of businesses, but are all very specific to hospitality, of hotels, restaurants, entertainment, and everyone that deals in the hospitality business, large and small. But we're going to hopefully give you a little bit of insight about what our organization does and how we may be able to help you as individuals in the small business segment. Next slide. So we, again, just kind of going over, we work with all the leaders in the hospitality, large and small, and that's one of the, I think, benefits of our organization, that we're able to provide resources with the top leaders in the industry for you. Next slide. So FRLA, again, Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, is a premier nonprofit trade association. Our office is based in Tallahassee, our headquarters, and we have regional directors all throughout the state so that we can focus on regional and local specific businesses. And I'm the representative for Broward County, but then there's other representatives in Miami and Palm Beach and all over the state. Our mission, our main core mission, is protect, educate, and promote. And I'm going to break that down for you as we go along here. But and these numbers may be changed a little bit, but basically, one, it is a big industry, and the numbers you see here, again, it may have changed, but hospitality has a huge portion of the market, and it's 108.8 billion as of our last numbers, and 1.5 million employees. Again, obviously, because of everything that we have gone through this year, those numbers have changed, so, I'm sure, but we don't have the latest as it keeps changing. But it does, no matter what, it is one of our top industries in the state of Florida. So if you are going into business in restaurant or entertainment or hotel or anything within that, you are one of the most important pillars of our state's economy. We work with regulatory compliances. We do safety training for food. We develop careers we work with a lot of different things that are specific, again, to the hospitality, restaurant, food service, as well as hotels and entertainment. And we've been doing that for a long time. And we also do a lot of advocacy, which I will get into in more detail. We do represent about 10,000, again, give or lose a few this year, since it's been a unique year for us, of independent and household members. Again, that offers anything from small to large types of businesses and corporations within our industry, as well as theme parks and suppliers. Next slide. So that was the overview on the state organization, but just bringing it back to local here, we have a board of directors. So we're almost an entity within the large organization of our own. We have our own board of directors that are hospitality leaders right here in Broward County. We have an executive committee, we have an education committee, a government relation committee, we have an events committee and an ambassadors committee, and I'll go in a little bit detailed with those, with about 750 members. And surprisingly, we've kind of kept that strong even through this year with all the tough times that our industry have had. We've been stronger than ever because there's been a bond that brought us together for helping each other through these tough times. And it's been enlightening and heartwarming, and I'm really happy that we've been able to help so many businesses. We've been in business for 10 years. The photo that you see here on the slide is actually one of our fundraisers that we had. It was our last one actually in 2019. And it is a fundraiser that we do that kind of brings the industry together locally in Broward County, but also raise funds for scholarships for students that are in hospitality. And I think that's some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about that may help you in building your businesses. Next slide. So let's start with We Protect. I actually have a logo on top. I just realized I did a presentation for one of the chambers, but obviously we partner with a lot of our local chambers, our industry, as other industry associations, as well as government, airport, cruise port, Commission of Visitors Bureau. So we do different presentations throughout the year and help everyone in whatever capacity that they may need. But basically, as far as protection, we protect businesses and hospitality specific businesses in advocacy on a legislative level. Every year there's a list of things that we get ahead of time, and we want to make sure that businesses are aware of changes and things that may be coming down the pipeline through our legislative. Oh my phone is ringing. Apologies. Okay. I do run a central service here with working from home. But getting back to our legislators, so obviously doing legislative work is very important because things that happen, decisions that are made on a legislative level could affect your business. And it's really important for us to keep you informed and vice versa to make sure that your needs or requests are carried on to the state. Having our office in Tallahassee gives us a very, very close connection to the legislators and the governor's office in everything. And some of that has definitely been very helpful this year during COVID because things were changing fast and we were able to pivot and support things that were needed. We mitigate on your behalf, obviously, and anything with taxation. There's a lot of different things that happen, And again, as a business owner, you may not realize that, that these could affect your business, but they do affect your bottom line. And it's always good to know about what's happening. Sometimes things happen, and as a small business, you don't realize what has happened, or you weren't involved in it until it's already a law and it's changed. And one of those examples was actually, obviously, the minimum wage. I don't know how many of you have followed that topic, but that's something that's going to affect small businesses. We also work with especially for restaurants. This is important to know, anything that has to do with food and beverage. We actually do all the compliances. We assist with inspections. We assist put the laws in place, and then help you carry it on and help with the training and those kind of things. And of course, with food and alcohol, that's very important, because there are alcohol compliances, and obviously food safety is more than ever very much important because of CDC guidelines and things that have changed. So these are just some of the stuff that we do on the legislative level. Next slide, please. All right, I'm sorry about that. So we also educate. This is really important, and it's something that most people may not know, but FRLA actually has been the founder of 2 programs that are in high schools. And these programs are meant to introduce our youth for the industry. And we want to constantly bring new leadership and new labor force for businesses. And this is something that a lot of small businesses can take advantage of, because the programs that we're doing gives them an introduction into the industry. The HTMP and ProStarts. HTMP is it's the Hospitality and Tourism Management Program, and ProStart is actually a culinary program. We fund these programs. We have a state foundation that actually helps us do this all across. It started kind of in Broward, and a lot of our schools have these programs. It is now mostly online, but we help them with anything from hands-on experience to bringing top chefs into the schools and providing the information. We also provide scholarships and awards. We provide internship and mentorship. So we do a lot of different layers of support so that these kids are able to learn within the industry. Now, how that may affect you as a business is that you may be able to mentor or have an internship from one of these schools. Not only it will help the youth, but it could help your business, because you're bringing the youth into a new business or a small business. First of all, it's going to give you a different perspective of what your customers or your future customers may be looking at, but also you may be building your customer base and a loyal following through that partnership because of the school and all the kids that will become familiar with your business. And you may be able to hire them, obviously, for a lot less money, but with a lot of benefits at the end. So that's something that we really encourage and support. And we do have different programs that we offer, and those are some of the things that you get from being a part of our organization. Next slide. So during the crisis, and I feel like I'm missing a slide. I guess the first one was promote, and I do want to just touch on that. As far as promoting, we promote you within the community. We are not. Oh, there it is. There's my slide. So the promotion is actually important for a couple of reasons, especially right now. I think promoting any business within the community is important. I believe one of the presenters earlier mentioned, helping the community. A lot of our business right now is coming from the community. People are not traveling very far, and there's not as many visitors coming to our area, but there is that drive market, and people just turning to their local businesses for food, even during the holidays. We had a great, tremendous amount of interest in people that wanted to have to go and delivery to their homes for Thanksgiving dinner. And those are the type of things that we help put the word out through our association so that people support our local restaurants and attractions. Families coming together. They may not be able to travel the way they did in the past, but they can be a visitor in their own backyard. And we encourage that and we support that. The other thing is we are partners with AHLA and NRA, National Restaurant Association, as well as the American Hotel Lodging Association, and Visit Florida. Visit Florida is the state's marketing and tourism agency. It is a private public agency. They are funded by the government, by the governor's office, but they also have a membership program, and we are a very, very tight partner with them. And also, of course, National Restaurant Association, we kind of try to connect our restaurants locally with what's happening nationally. And once you are a member of our association, you automatically become a member of National Restaurant Association. And AHLA is the same version for hotel and lodging places that are our members. So all of these provide all kinds of resource and information and things that you will be able to benefit, as opposed to going and trying to become a member of each one of them yourself. Becoming a partner of ours, you will have access to all that information and be able to use that when you're opening up your business. It gives you more leverage, and it definitely gives you more knowledge of what's happening in the industry. What are the top trends and what works for who? As I believe our first speaker, one of our speakers was mentioning, it's good to know what everybody else is doing. And our association is a really great place. It's a family of hospitality businesses, and they share. They may be competitive, but they're all very hospitable, and they're also very understanding that doing business well, if everybody's doing well, it works for the entire economy and it works for the destination. So they love sharing and working with each other of what works best for everyone, because that just makes them stronger as a destination and competitive with other destinations. Some of the programs that I have mentioned here, our trade show and seafood festival and the Great Florida events are not happening right now, obviously, but we do have virtual events that are happening, and those are always a good place. A lot of educational programs of best ways, best practices, and best technology, and all the great things that may give you inspiration of how to do things better for your business, no matter what the size. Next slide. There we go. So during COVID, I want to talk about that a little bit, because obviously our core pillars remain, and we will continue to do that. But we've had to adjust and transition into a virtual world where we're able to provide the same services and then some, without the meetings and the mixers and the networking events and the trade shows and the regular events that we've always done. So some of the stuff that we've done has been, obviously, especially at the beginning months, was helping people stay safe, not only putting out the messages and sharing a lot of the executive orders that came in from the state, from local and from different places, but distribution of masks. We've had over 1 million masks distributed to our industry members. And For those of you who've already opened your business, I still do have masks. So if you need some, I do have them in a couple of locations warehoused in Broward County. One is North County and the other one is a South County location. You're welcome to contact me and I will be happy to. And again, it's donated. It is donated actually through National Restaurant Association and the Washington, D.C. Department of Health and Human Services. They are plain, they have no logo. So you're welcome to use that for any occasion and for any business. That's been definitely one of the things that we wanted to make sure we have done. We've been able to work with our hotels and restaurants, especially in the beginning months, to provide food and feed the industry, help people that have lost jobs, help families that have kids out of school and needed additional meals to make ends meet. We've worked with the Department of Elder Affairs in providing meals with them. So we took advantage of our partners. Anything, and our membership obviously goes with hotels and restaurants, but the suppliers, it's important for you to understand the suppliers, because being a member of our association, it doesn't just give you a connection to the industry, folks, but it also gives you a connection to suppliers. Sometimes we pre-negotiate some of these so that you're able to get discounts and health insurance on your cable TV, your Wi-Fi and those kind of things. And sometimes we just connect you with local businesses that may be able to give you a competitive rate for some of these services, anything from linens to towels to food distributors to any of your supplies, your dry supplies. So we're able to give you a ton of information without you having to research. And those are all so beneficial in working. But then in time of crisis, they all come together to help your businesses. We've had people that have donated things, that have offered things, and it's not just crisis with COVID, but we've been able to do that during hurricane season and different I guess crises that may come up. So those are all good things to know when you become involved with an association like ours. And of course, I mentioned this before, educating the industry and rebuilding their confidence to see what other places have done, what's worked best, what works best in your local community, what may have worked in another community. A lot of our businesses, especially restaurants, and I want to talk more obviously about the restaurants and entertainment, they became so creative. Our industry is resilient and brilliant in coming up with new ways of doing business. We've had restaurants that are doing better than they were doing before because they never did delivery and pickup. But now it's something that they've incorporated and it actually increased their sales. It actually increased their way of doing business online, a lot of doing, online and digital and touchless ordering. That expanded tremendously. Working again with local businesses, bringing business to each other as a part of supporting your local businesses. That was very helpful to them. That was something that they didn't reach as much before, but they started to focus on it. We also created a Florida Hospitality TV where we actually cover special highlight of stories, good stories, things that people did that worked really well. One of my board members is a restaurant owner in Deerfield Beach, and she was brilliant. She almost overnight, it's a luxury restaurant and on the beach, and they completely shut down obviously for a while, but they became almost an online grocery store. They realized during, even as a personal experience, the owner realized that there were certain things that weren't found, that she couldn't find at Publix. Anything from toilet paper to sauces or paper towels, or even food, certain food items. So she made a deal with her distributor, food distributor, and they were able to purchase things that were not available. And they just had like a drive-through window, and they had people coming in, and she wasn't afraid to lose her business in the long run, but she just provided a service that was very much needed. And all of the people that were her customers before remained her customers while she was providing food delivery or grocery deliveries. Basically, she was able to give them all kinds of coupons saying, we're here for you during this time. When we come back, you come back and we'll give you a 20% discount or whatever promotion that she came up with. She became very creative. She was even doing meals in a packet where the chef would teach them how can they make what they make in the restaurant their own at home, and provided them with all the ingredients. And it's the creativity and the education that we've shared in this industry has just been phenomenal and beautiful, because I think this is what's going to make our industry stronger moving forward. We've done a lot of Zoom meetings. Obviously, we have people, we have experts from all over the country and sometimes all over the world that have been able to provide information, not just on how to change the business, but how to make the business better, and also making sure that they follow the guidelines. We've continuously made sure that the CDC guidelines and all the executive orders are communicated and people stayed on top of those. Next slide. And of course, in dollars and cents, we have provided funding for the children of restaurants. Like I mentioned, in food, we've donated. We've been able to do fundraising and donations through the industry, and it's just and working with PPP and SBA, just funneling information and making sure that small businesses have every possible avenue in order to survive. And this went obviously for the restaurants, but as well as hotels. And as you can imagine, restaurants are coming back faster than hotels. Hotels are still struggling more, depending on the type of restaurant or the hotel or what they have. But restaurant and hotels go hand in hand. And I want to mention that a little bit to you. If you're a restaurant or an entertainment venue, your customers can come from local, but they can also come from your local hotels. Partnering with your hotels, concierge service is not the way it used to be, but our organization is able to connect those two, so to make sure that our local businesses get in front of hotel owners and sales folks. And so that when they're selling their product, they can say, hey, we have great restaurants just a few blocks away. We have great entertainment just around the corner. We have an array of available services and products in our destination. So that's really important to connect with your hotels and stay in a good relationship with them, because they will bring business to your doorstep. Next slide. Well, before I go into the voice of hospitality, I do want to mention one other thing, is that we have a program that we created through COVID called the Seal of Commitment. And that has been huge. I'm sure you probably have heard of Safe and Clean, which is done by the Convention and Visitors Bureau. If you don't know about your local CVB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau is the marketing tourism arm of the county for Broward County. And we work very closely with them. We work very closely with the airport and the cruise port, as I mentioned. Everyone that comes into our destination, we want to make sure stays here and spends their money here. That's kind of our ultimate goal. And so we work very closely together. They created a Safe and Clean program, making sure that restaurants, hotels, businesses of any sort, retail, entertainment, theme parks, attractions, have all received the information of what it is, what it means to be in guidance within the CDC guidelines. We take it a step further. We actually have a certification program where we have our training, and that's actually another part of it that I mentioned, our compliances and food safety. We actually have a division of training. They've been very busy during this time because we've provided free COVID training for our members, and we've been able to provide this inspection, and the inspection gives a confidence to your customers that you have followed all the rules in safety with COVID, with food, with alcohol compliances, and there's still more to come. As we move forward, we're expanding our reach to make sure that outdoor seating is going to become a part, expand and become a part of a legislative movement. Alcohol to go has been a huge part. Obviously, I told you about the distribution of masks and all of those things, but we have been on top of every topic that we can to make sure that your businesses succeed. And going into a new business, I recommend, especially with hospitality, obviously businesses, small businesses, to become a part of our organization. We are a membership organization. If you want to become a member of the organization, I encourage you to do so. We are kind of like a chamber of commerce as far as being a member, but we are very, very specific to this market. So there's my contact information. We are the voice of hospitality. We are the voice of restaurants, entertainment, and all of those things. So reach out and take advantage of everything that we have collected and we have in our capacity, so that it makes your job easier, since you have so many other things to worry about as you start your journey in a business entrepreneurship. And that's the end of my presentation.
So Rozeta and team, let me say thank you. Thank you for that information. Thank you for that partnership. And Althea, if you still here, thank you for that wealth of information on behalf of the SBA. And thank Dr. Tinsley and thank Ms. McCall. But thank the listeners. And I know we ran over, and the reason why it's still important, and I am going to let you go, is as we started, the information we try to share on a regular basis anyway. We recognize, as we said in the beginning, 74,000 businesses, multiple industries, North American industry code. So at the end of the day, we know we don't have the answers for everyone in every situation, but based on the information and the resources that we do have, we need to try to make that available to our business community. So I need you to make sure that the individuals you heard from today, you recognize you can reach out to them directly. My office, including me, you can reach out to me directly. If 5% today was helpful, take that 5% and run with it. And if you need to check back with us, do so. If 50% was helpful, use that respectfully. If nothing was helpful, you still have access to our office, the economic development side. Let us hear where you are, and let's see if we can identify internally or externally resources for you. So in that regard, we did entertain quite a few questions in the chat. You have our email. I'm going to ask staff to put our contact information back up. Let that roll for the last couple of minutes. And other than thanking the presenters today, I am encouraging you to hook up with our office, follow us on these social media websites, contact us, schedule those one-on-one virtual meetings, and let's see how we can either assist you or identify resources similar to the ones you heard today to assist you, because we're serious about recognizing all businesses that are in need of assistance will never get it all from me. But if we can lead you to the other areas and the other resources that support you, that's the key. Again, I need to thank the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, Rozeta. I need to thank the SBA and Ms. Bonner and your team, your group, your business resiliency group. Thanks for this invite and being a part of our jump start of our Rise Forum that we are going to add to our regular workshop series to make sure we're just bringing information to the businesses in Broward and McCall and our other entertainment venues and restaurant owners. We are wishing you well. We need to see you to thrive. as well as survive. And if there's anything we can do, we're trying to do it, and we're owning the fact as government, as limited government. There's only so much we can do, but if there's a real person or a real bridge or somewhere that we can take you and connect you, we want to do so. We also have a list on our website of other resources, financial institutions and others that provide other free and some reduced fee business planning, marketing strategies, some outreach information. So always check with us about those as well. But again, thank you, Dan, for staying extra in terms of the time that we went over. And thank my presenters again, and we'll see you next time. And again, to the Business Resiliency Group, thanks for having us. Thanks for partnering with us to actually get this workshop underway. Thank you all.
Mr. McDonald, don't forget to mention the grant.
And I'm so sorry. In case you weren't aware, we did extend the Small Business Cares Grant, for-profit and nonprofit, for an additional week. Wednesday the 9th at midnight, the application closes. So broward.org/cares, C-A-R-E-S. You can get all the information you need about these grants, $5,000, $10,000, and $15,000 grants. If you don't need it, go tell somebody. We are still trying to find additional resources. Like Althea says, if you can get some affordable money for short use, long-term, get it. That might not be my grants, but we too are looking to try to do something on the loan side for affordable dollars. But definitely take her up on her suggestion of the EIDL and where they are now. And for our grants, the new piece about this last week, home-based businesses are now eligible. That's your buzz. Home-based businesses are also eligible for the CARES grant. So please go online, broward.org/cares. Read that information. And if you have what it takes based on the information you read, please submit an application before next Wednesday at midnight. Thank you all.